being and doing. That's what we started with in the last session. And finding a balance. And before finding a balance, being able to enter, to access the being dimension. That's already a good start. And then at first, what tends to happen, but although not invariably, is you enter the being dimension or access it when you're in a place that is conducive to the stillness or the serenity, or here, a protected space, or perhaps at home in your room, or here in your room, out in nature. And at first, the being dimension is associated with cessation of doing. That's how you first realize it. It's when you're not doing anything and you can just be, consciously be. Which implies no matter how brief, a cessation of the primary doing, which is the thinking doing. Without no matter a brief cessation in the stream of thinking, it's hard to find the being dimension. But later on, as you become consciously rooted in the being dimension, thinking and being can come together. They are not irreconcilable, and in fact that is one of your tasks, is to, when you do think, not to be totally identified with the stream of thinking. In other words, there's some attention in the background, there's an awareness, a field of, or a space of awareness in the background, even while you're engaged in thinking. As it is now, as I'm speaking, of course the mind is operating, but I can sense, and perhaps you can, in the background, behind the words, beyond the words, in between the words, there's that space of stillness, beingness, whatever you want to call it. And if you can sense it, you might believe if you sense it's coming from here, if you can sense it, it's in you. Because only being can be aware of being, not the mind. If you believe being emanates from me, I suppose it does, but at that moment there's the recognition of being can only happen through accessing that dimension within yourself. Only being can recognize being, not the mind. The mind, however, may come in when let's say you recognize the being dimension that emanates from this thing, that's the body or whatever it is. It emanates, and you sense it. The moment you sense it, it's in you also, consciously. Now it's possible that the mind may come in and misinterpret what's going on. and the mind may confuse the form of the spiritual teacher, whoever it happens to be, the form identity with the being dimension, and then suddenly the teacher is regarded as a supernatural being or a kind of godlike figure or some great guru or whatever, because you confuse that which transcends the form, for which the form is only an opening. You confuse that with the form, and then you make that person through whom being shines, you make that person very special. This can happen easily. It's a misinterpretation, but at least you recognized being. But what you overlooked is, because not everybody will recognize it in the being dimension, in a human being. If it shines through strongly, not everybody will recognize. Some people say, what's this all about? Why are these people all listening to this guy for 2 hours? He's not special. He doesn't even jump up and down the stage and he's just boring, isn't he? He's boring. So that's a danger. That is also a danger as far as the spiritual teacher is concerned, because there may be remnants of ego left in him or her, and if the teacher is bombarded with continuous projections of specialness, he or she may begin to believe, in other words, the ego comes back through the back door and regains ascendancy, and the ego comes back, and then the teacher begins to think, to feel a specialness in the person, the form. And then the teacher, it's happened many times, the teacher makes statements such as, I'm certainly the greatest teacher alive on the planet at the present moment. Or it may go so far as to say, I'm the greatest that has ever lived, all the others were precursors of I have arrived. There is something incredibly special coming through, but it is nobody's possession, it's nobody's achievement, it does not belong to the form dimension. But the form dimension can be an opening, just like a window. In a way, one could say, this body and this mind is the window frame. What you see is the window frame, but what the most important thing about the window is the light that comes through the window, and that's the opening. And this may also happen to you when you, as presence arises, you will, if it's not happened already, for many of you probably has happened already, you come into contact with people who are helped by your presence. Even if you don't feel that you know what to do, because it doesn't work like that. They're helped, and they're drawn to you, they're helped by your presence. There's a kind of transmission. It can awaken the presence in the other, that dimension, the being dimension in the other. And then you can find they may then become attached to you because they feel so good in your presence and they can't let go. And again, the danger already arises then that you feel, I have done this. There's one could call that healing in a deeper sense, not just physical healing, but the true healing is to the reconnection with the being dimension. That's the true healing. And there's a phrase in this book called The Course in Miracles, which is, the healer does not heal, he lets healing be. He does not heal, he lets healing be. So when you are with people who are seeking help, then you don't need to go into your mind and say, how can I help this person? And just to go, the person is talking to you, and you already think, perhaps I could say that, I can say that. It doesn't work like that. You're just present. At some point, you may say something it comes from the deeper place, or you may not even say anything, and there's just an answer may suddenly appear in the other person with something, oh, and you never said or did anything, you just sat there.